were creating our whole mediation process, we discovered how different the dynamic is when your partner is in conflict with your child as compared to when children are in conflict with each other. And it kind of brought up a big discussion for us around all that comes up when your partner and your child are in conflict, because that happens quite often, and your role in that and how best to bring yourself into the situation. And that's the topic for this video.
So we're going to talk about 3 key pieces in this video in an effort to keep it shorter, and they are pieces that are not confined necessarily to just your partner, but they're certainly extremely relevant if your partner's involved. So the first concept that we want to talk about is the concept of mama bear. And mama bear, when we first started talking about this, women were so, they identified so strongly with mama bear. Oh yeah, I totally get that. And for me, mama bear is a huge big piece. And mama bear is that part in you that rises up instinctually. It's like a part of, it's more a part of the reptilian part of your brain, that fight or flight. I need to protect, I need to defend. It's a very strong, I need to rise up and protect my children. I've perceived they're being harmed in some way. And that mama bear, she's an ancient part of the archetype of the mother. She's there, she's the protector who holds her children and keeps them safe as they grow. And mama bear can be very, very strong. She's in every mother, and for some mothers, she's extremely strong and present. And we can be quite overprotective mothers. Coming from a good space, coming from a space of wanting to protect and keep our children in a safe space. And mama bear is relevant and she's vital. You want to have that part of her within you. However, mama bear makes no distinctions. She's not part of your conscious processing. She's not part of your awareness and your choice on those levels. She will rise up instinctually at any perceived threat, perceived by her, okay? So this often rises up before you've even really consciously made any choices around it. And mama bear can rise up and take over. She rises up often if your partner is fighting with your children and your children seem to be in distress. That's often one of the most immediate responses for mama bear. Another time that mama bear rises up is if another child is in conflict with your child and your child seems to be hurt or in distress again. Any other? Mama bear also rises up between 2 mothers. If one mother, if a mother perceives another mother criticizing her child in some way, mama bear can rise up, and even the closest of friends, mama bear can rise.
It happened between us.
Yeah, it happened between us. So she comes up, and we need to be aware of her. We need to be aware that she exists and that she's a valid part of us. But we want to have choice. We want to have discernment about whether mama bear is truly needed in the moment.
Especially because realistically our children aren't in that much danger a lot of the time, for example, compared to when we were living out as cave people and there was danger of our children being eaten by something. Like we still have that same instinct, but we don't have the same real threat. So we really need to be aware of what's really going on.
Because mama bear does not make distinctions between your partner and a man-eating dinosaur. It's all the same to her.
Dinosaur.
So, what do we do about mama bear? And the first piece is you have awareness that she exists within you, that she's a valid part, and for some of you that she's a really strong, influential and very quick to rise part of you.
And that awareness that we'll get more into this in the other steps we're going to talk about, but that in reality, a lot of the time, she's not needed when your partner is in conflict with your child. Like, a lot of the time she's not needed, even though she comes up.
And it can feel very believable. You can truly believe that she's needed. So what we're asking you to do is breathe, is take some breaths and observe, even for a moment, just for, a moment or so, take some breaths and evaluate consciously whether the threat is real or whether Mama Bear is rising and doesn't necessarily need to. So that's the first piece. And the second piece we want to give you in today's video around Mama Bear is acknowledging her and acknowledging her concerns. And it sounds a little strange because it's a piece of yourself, but if you acknowledge Mama Bear and you can say, okay, I feel this part within me, I feel the need to protect, breathe through it and say, I see that, you want to keep my child safe, it's a good thing. Once she's acknowledged, she'll die down in intensity in terms of how urgent everything feels.
So the other two parts of your relationship with your partner, when in relation to them being in conflict with your child, are more out of the moment. They're things for you to connect with your partner and communicate with your partner around out of the moment, so that you have more resources at hand when they are in conflict and when Mama Bear starts to come up. And the first one is about really understanding their greatest intentions as a parent, their values as a parent. Because in the moment it can be pretty easy to just look at them and go, oh, they don't care about my child, I need to step in and make sure the child's safe. It doesn't seem like they're doing anything right, and that their intention must be this or that or that or this, that is really far from accurate and often really unreasonable if you stop to look at it. And even just being reminded of the fact that when you are disconnected, when you're stressed out and you're out of alignment with the way you truly want to parent, you say and do things that you wish you hadn't have said and done, and just being aware that that's the same for your partner. So, and they do it in their way, you do it in your way. So when they may be yelling at your child or creating an ultimatum or scaring them or threatening them, that's not because that's their greatest intention as a parent, obviously.
That's because they're not in alignment with their values and their intentions.
And they're stressed out and they're not getting needs met. So the out of the moment practice we're suggesting here is to have that conversation with your partner where you get clear on, so what if you're fully in control and you had all the choice in the world, when you're in relationship with our child, how do you most want to show up? What's really important to you? How do you really want your relationship to be? And hear that, and hear their greatest intentions, because they're going to be far from those things that you're reacting to when Mama Bear is rising. And share yours with them as well, and you'll find common themes as well.
You'll find common themes, but you also find ones that your partner holds that you might not hold, that they so want to bring to the relationship. And maybe in the heat of the moment, they're just not quite getting there. Just like you don't get there in the heat of the moment when you lose it, they're just not quite getting there too. But their intentions are not what's being expressed.
And the intentions are the things underneath. So when you're having that conversation, both of you aim to get, like, if you're like, oh, I don't really get that intention, why would you want that? Then have a look for what's under it. Like, what does having our children do that serve for you? Like underneath, say for example, what initially might be the intention to get them to have a bath every night, no matter what, could be that experience of inner authority and of keeping a rhythm within themselves, and other things like health is really important. But the intentions are underneath the things that they seem to be trying to make happen. And really get to that intention, because that's the core drive for us and for your partner, for anyone to parent from when we're in alignment.
So their values and their needs, and they're different things, but they drive all those intentions. And if you have a whole discussion about what's your greatest wish as a parent, what's the strongest values you want to impart, what's your greatest needs in our family at the moment, you know, all those different conversations. So there's a few ways you can phrase it, but it's all those same pieces. It's understanding what your partner most wants to bring to the family when they're in a great space. If they could access it in the moment, what would they be most wanting to bring?
Focusing on that, being aware of that, means that when your partner is in conflict with your child, that's your intention is to support them to come back to those values and those intentions for parenting. But before we suggest that, we also want to talk about another thing to do out of the moment, and that's about agreements for how and when you do step in. Because sometimes even coming in and reminding them of what's really important to them might not be appropriate, because there's times when they might really need to work out the conflict themselves, just them and the child, and it might be really important for them to work on their relationship without you. So that comes to another out of the moment conversation.
Yeah, so the out of the moment conversation about agreements, and this is not only what they need, this is what you also need to feel okay to butt out. You know, what do you need to soothe Mama Bear? These are the agreements that you want to make with your partner. So from both sides, what agreements you want to set up beforehand. And once that conversation is had, it's also easier to accept then in the moment. So if your partner makes an agreement with you that, my partner created an agreement with me where he said, I would love for you to remind me to ask myself, what's my part in this? Yeah, so that was an agreement that we made out of the moment a while ago. Like, it was just in this particular situation, and I said, okay. And then the next time the situation came up, and in that case he was losing his cool and everything, and I said to him, Mike, you might want to ask yourself, what's your part in this? And maybe I could have said it in a different way, but I enacted the agreements. And at first, he got really angry at me. But then he went, because I looked at him and I said, you asked me to remind you of this. And he went, oh yeah. And everything shifted. And it was because he'd made a request of me and I enacted the request. So having the conversation out of the moment allowed us to work through it in the moment.
Yeah, and another thing with that conversation is even to kind of talk about scenarios. Like, your partner might say to you, like, unless I ask you to butt in, I would like you not to butt in. And then maybe for you it might be, well, I can do that in these situations, but say maybe if our child asks me, then I might want to. And you continue down that vein of conversation until you get really clear on the different situations where your partner really consciously, from that conscious space when you're having the conversation, says, no, actually this is a situation that I want to work through with the child and I would like some trust in that. And then situations where you're like, and then these are some exceptions to that where I know that I need to bring my voice in, and then these are the ways that your partner would like you to do that. Like, so all the different scenarios that can come up.
Absolutely. So you want to have conversations about this so that in the moment you have a structure, a set of agreements that feel okay to you. You have language that you've agreed on that you want to be using. And when you enact your role or you enact one of the agreements or whatever it is that you've agreed upon and come up with beforehand, your role becomes around supporting your partner back to a place of conscious choice. It's about supporting them to come back to their intention, their values, and what they're really holding dear before they lost it, and that's still there underneath. It's just not coming forwards how they want it to come forwards. And then you really do play a very strong supporting role, because you're supporting them to come back to conscious choice and back to their heart's intention.
And you're not actually trying to change them. You're just reminding them of something that's important to them. So there's far less reaction and defense that's going to come about. So that was a lot. So as a quick recap, when your partner's in conflict with your child, Mama Bear can come up. So be aware of Mama Bear, acknowledge Mama Bear, and assess whether the situation is really, whether she's really needed.
From a conscious place. Yeah.
And then, out of the moment, have that conversation with your partner about what their greatest intention for parenting is and what yours is. When you're in that really connected space, when anything's possible, how do they really want to relate with the children? And then have another conversation about how you can support them when they're in conflict with your child. So the things that you can say, when you can say it, ways that work for both of you.
And make sure you include your side of the agreements in that, so that you do feel okay if it's a scenario where your partner wants you to step back, that it is that you feel truly within yourself, I can step back, because we've talked about what I need from my side as well to do that.
Yeah. So if this is a topic that is very relevant for you, you might want to check out our program we have that's about to begin soon, and the link will be below, and it's all about your relationship with your partner. So give that a go, whichever parts are most needed for you, you'll know, and let us know how it goes. Saber-toothed tiger or something.
Yeah. Should I say it again? The moment's gone now.
I really like it though.
Okay. Oh, but now it feels staged. I'm not good at staged.